Hey, welcome back. My name is Ryan Funk with You Multicultural. Gimli has been so much fun here for the 25th anniversary of the Gimli International Film Festival. And one of the key components of that is celebrating the diversity of voices and film. And one of those amazing programs is the Indigenous Film Collective. And here we have Oliver with us today. Oliver, thank you so much for joining us. You know, just for the community, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Oliver King. A lot of people call me Ollie. I'm originally from James Smith Cree Nation in north central Saskatchewan, but I've been here on and off for about like 10 years.
Okay.
I've been making films ever since 2014, and since then, pretty much I've been involved with the Winnipeg Indigenous Filmmakers Collective, which was the Aboriginal filmmaker actor potluck before, and then about 10 years ago, I became the collective, so we just had our 10th anniversary.
Oh, fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you
That's
so much.
exciting.
Yeah.
What first got you into film? You know, that's an interesting thing that you hear from filmmakers, that one moment that kind of sparks that curiosity and interest.
Yeah, so when I was in high school, I was always curious about like the idea of moving picture, but I didn't really think that it was something that I could do until one of my friends came up to me and was like, do you want to make a movie with us? Because there was a class at the time that I was able to...
See, that's the moment. It could happen at any time.
For sure, yeah. So, yeah, I started taking this program. I don't remember what the acronym stands for, but it was called CPT. Mm-hmm. And I started making short films and stuff like that. And then in 2014, when I moved to Winnipeg for the first time to go to filmmaking school, that's when I really became involved in the community. So I started doing like music videos, corporate stuff, community stuff. And then I went to school for 3 years. And then after that, I became a writer, director, producer, editor, animator, basically for my own stuff. And I
that's
also
a lot of different.
Yeah. Yeah. So I also worked on a lot of like television, movie stuff as well.
Okay. Do you have like a particular project that you're really proud of?
The one that I'm showcasing at the Gimli International Film Festival is called Confluence. I co-directed it with Charlene Moore, who is like my business partner. We've been making films together for about almost the same time as when I started. So yeah. 2015 is when we met, and since then we've been collaborating on a lot of stuff. And so she asked me if I wanted to help make this film, which was sponsored by the Winnipeg Film Group for their 50th anniversary. Mm-hmm. So it was one of, I think, 8 films that were selected to be made. And then, yeah, so that film was started last year, and we've been talking about a project where we can make Indigeneity within the context of Winnipeg and what that means for filmmakers specifically and storytellers. More a spotlight put on them more. So like we've been toying with this experimental way of making this project, and it's really interesting because we've been doing a lot of analog stuff, but we won the innovation storytelling at the 2025 Imaginative Film Festival with this film.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
that's exciting. You know, when we're looking here at GIF, I think that's one of the cool aspects is like, you know, it started Icelandic roots, like telling those films, and that's still a key component of the festival, but it's evolved to tell so many different stories, you know, people of Indigenous backgrounds, people of, you know, cultures and experiences from around the world, you know, BIPOC folk, queer folk, like so many different stories, you know, from that aspect. You know, when we're looking at a film festival like that, why do you think that's an important component to focus on, that diversity?
I like to say that it takes all kinds. So being an Indigenous person means that like I feel like I have a responsibility to myself and my people to also share our stories, as well as connecting with settlers, those who have come in the beginning. When we before time immemorial, we always were welcoming and accepting with reciprocity between communities. So we always try to have goodwill. So having a multicultural aspect to any sort of festival anywhere in the world or any sort of community gathering is really important, because it takes all kinds to, you know, steward community and foster good relationships and like live within a society. Like it's just so important, and it just makes sense to, you know, have voices from all over the world tell stories.
Like it's so exciting. You know, when I came here in 2023 to watch the Film Collective's showcase, there's so many films exploring different avenues. You know, some were just focusing on like, here's my unique perspective. Others were focusing on calls to action. You know, those stewardship, protecting the land, like that different perspective that, you know, other filmmakers might not have, which I think is such a cool experience, having this slot where, you know, Indigenous individuals can come in, tell their stories, and showcase it with a wide audience.
Right. Yeah. So like with this this year, I think we're more focused on community. So last year we had the Winnipeg Indigenous Filmmaker Collective's Sko Dudison project. So it was a series of 4 labs, and I was the facilitator for 2 of them. The first one, Switcheroo, and the second one, Artist Fusion, where we paired filmmakers and artists of varying backgrounds, and then we came together to make some sort of project. So last year mine was in that program, and it was called A Cree Love Story. So we had our language artist, Davey Gott, who works at NCI, I believe, and he does things like Friends on Friday and stuff like that. But he knows Cree, so it was really important for like the revitalization of our language and like the preservance of that, and as well as telling a queer story. So like I asked my boyfriend if he'd like to be one of the performers, and then my friend Kale, who was in one of my films before, his partner Sam was the other actor. So we got them together and we made like an animated film.
Awesome.
That was really fun.
I guess just, you know, when we're looking at Indigenous stories and Indigenous films, there's, at least from my perspective, seems like there's been a resurgence more of those stories being told more out there on mainstream platforms. What was it just last year, the announcement of the, what was it, Anishinaabe-Moan translation of Star Wars?
Yeah.
I guess just when we're looking at Indigenous voices and Indigenous perspectives, how do you feel that representation is currently, and where do you think it should continue to go?
For sure. I think that when I started making film, I always envisioned myself as like a Hollywood filmmaker, and like over time, I realized that I wanted to focus more on community. So making sure that the people that haven't started their journey yet have that open space. So that's why the collective is so important to me. So like in the future, I see it level 2, if not even better than like Hollywood, because like there's been so much problematic stuff happening, especially in like, you know, the past recent years coming out or coming to light. And I feel like we want to have like a safe space, and we want to have a place of inclusivity and a place of respect and understanding. So having those films come to fruition with storytellers who are able to feel accepted is so important. And like I want that for everybody coming up next. So if we have a space like that, I feel like the audience is going to gravitate to our projects a little bit more.
Yeah,
you know?
well, I mean, when we're looking at media, like there's always been slop content, always.
Right.
But it feels like, you know, when we're looking at various Netflix productions or anything on streaming platforms, there's a lot of films that feel like they're just regurgitated, sent out, you know, just created for the lowest common denominator. And so many just feel samey, and there's a lot of loss of authenticity. And I think as more of that type of content comes out, and as more AI and the prevalence of it comes out, I'm a little worried. I think in the next 4 to 5 years, we might have our fully created AI movie. That's the nightmare I keep waking up to. But I think, you know, as that sort of stuff comes out, people will have more desire and thirst for those authentic, real stories.
For sure. I totally agree. I have utilized AI before, and like I see the argument for and argument against it all the time, but like at the end of the day, a person is always the driving force between AI before the story comes to fruition. So like I see a lot of creativity with some of the projects, and it's unfortunate that AI has to have some sort of model when it comes to like the architecture of the story, but I think that it's useful in terms of like not using generative AI is something that I try to like stay away from. But like in interpreting a story or using like things not very that has prior intellectual property, so like if it can envision a tree and it can envision a sky and the ground, then I think that's cool. But like when it starts going into like guesswork and like making things up and doing its own thing, then I think that that's where we get into the territory of we better be scared of that stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So when we're looking at the collective and the work that you're doing, a decade of bringing community together, I guess just what are your hopes with that, and what are some of the things you've seen in that evolution of over a decade?
When we first started coming, I noticed that there was a less polished look for some of the films, and over the course of time I've noticed that there's a lot of, especially in Winnipeg, a lot of experimental work. So when I'm seeing stuff, I see and I appreciate all the effort that goes into the creation of the stories that are being made, and I can also see how much we've improved upon the way that we're telling those stories. So the way that we're approaching the art direction, or the way that we're approaching the performances, and all that stuff is getting better, and it's always looking more clean and more polished. But at the same time, there's also always room for experimental. So like I love experimental now, and when I first started, like I said, my vision for like a Hollywood film was something that I expected to be making, and now I'm making things that are like beautiful and story driven and artist driven and super creative and like super fun, and like it's telling stories that are compelling and beautiful. And also going back to analog, I've been using analog a lot, and I've been like seeing a lot of films that are analog, and like a lot
it gives
of
it like a grit, right?
For sure, yeah. And like all my contemporaries like use analog a lot, so I really enjoy that.
Yeah, I've been finding that there's only so much of like digital media or like digital cameras. Like you can definitely, I know not everyone can tell the difference, but I can feel it in my soul,
right?
when they do like on film. Like there's just something about the texture of it that it just makes it feel special.
Right. Yeah. Totally. 100%.
Yeah. Okay. So for community, for Winnipeg, as well as Manitoba, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your film that's being featured here, as well as maybe some of your upcoming works?
For sure. Right now, I am promoting the Winnipeg Indigenous Filmmakers Collective short film program, and my film Confluence, co-directed by myself and Charlene Moore, will be playing tonight at 7. That film is an experimental 16mm film that was shot in Winnipeg over the last year, and it's about 10 minutes long. And I've been making films like that for about 6-7 years, but this is my first 16mm that I've done for myself. I'm also producing Rain Vermette's most recent film titled Levers, and that feature film will be coming out soon.
Awesome. Oliver, I appreciate you taking this time to chat with us and talk about the celebration of film. If there are young Indigenous filmmakers or people who are interested in checking out the medium, how do they get in touch with you?
So we have social media. It's called the Winnipeg Indigenous Film Collective on Instagram, so you can just find us there. We have our emblem as the little logo, the profile picture, and you can find us also on Facebook.
Awesome. Thanks again. So many amazing stories here in Gimli, and there's still more to tell. Make sure you check out some of these other interviews and other segments here at Multicultural channel. Thanks again for tuning in.